This is Keto Island Boys special edition
Yes.
podcast. You have found us. My name is Jeff, and I am one of the co-founders of the Keto Island Boy.
I am the other co-founder of the Keto Island Boys. And since we started this whole new YouTube journey a couple months ago, we just figured why not also talk about the things that me and Jeff both like, which also happens to be sports. So we're like, hey,
Yes.
we are just going to add a little sports section into our YouTube channel and then just kind of go from there. This isn't part of the podcast.
Yeah.
This is just something separate.
All right. Yep. This is the, what do they call it? The, what's the bonus feature?
Well, we don't even know what we're going to call this yet. This is going to be KIB sports or, sports with the Keto Island Boys. I don't know. We still haven't figured that out.
This is something me and I are really passionate about.
So now we can
guys,
just fully say, hey, FYI, we're going to be heavy on the Seahawks, heavy on the Mariners, because this is kind of like one of those times of free agency in the NFL. We're huge NFL fans. We're huge Seahawk fans. And we're also huge Mariner fans as well. So we'll probably be heavy on those two. And then a little bit college football too when that comes around.
And if you're a Seattle Seahawk fan, we got lots of content for you today. There's been so many things going down with the Seattle Seahawks. And I didn't renew my season tickets this year. It's funny because the Seahawks were trying to get... So Romy is in charge of the season tickets, and he was thinking of canceling it. And there was a deadline to cancel the season tickets. And as soon as the deadline hit and everyone was forced, you're committed. Once the deadline hits, no refunds, no... They dropped the news. They dropped all the news after the deadline. Like, that was kind of like smart on their behalf. They were trying to get him to sign to stay with it because he's been a member season tickets for like 20 plus years as a season ticket holder. Yeah. He gave him good seats, but now it's just so hard to maintain and hard to get people to commit every week. And he had like 5 tickets to maintain, and kind of getting that commitment from 5 people. Having to, find people if they can't make it to cover for it. It's a lot of, it's a lot of money and stuff like that. So we just decided not, I couldn't commit to a full season. It's a lot of preparation and time to commit, to drive and park. And
what does that run now? What's the ballpark?
What was the first?
What's that run for a season ticket? So it's 8 games,
so
9 games.
Yeah, it's 8. Now, how they do the season is depending on the matchup or who they're playing. That determines the cost.
Yeah, it's not a flat rate for each game.
Yeah. Last year, I paid $1,800
like 10 games
for
$200 a ticket.
So it's almost like two. Yeah, it's like $2 something a game. Yeah, about $200 a game. But when you try to buy tickets regularly, they'll be like, okay, Arizona's $150. You go to a San Francisco game because it's like
$300 for a Niners game,
right? That's how much they kind of. Right, that's how they set the prices for the Seahawks tickets. And if I wanted to not go to the 49ers game, I would try to sell it for a higher price because that's the game that everyone goes to. But Arizona, it's like $100, so you're like eating $100 costs, for that. But I enjoy watching football at home most of the time, where I can watch my red zone to watch everything. Right,
you have
go to bathroom ready. You don't have to build. Yeah, you don't have to deal with the cold weather, the rain, the parking.
We also sound
the
old
commute.
too, because that's also kind of like an older thing. But no, I think with technology, man, TVs, I mean, you get the best angle, plus you get commentary on top of it. So it's like, it's a great product to watch at home. It's almost better than being at the stadium. So it just kind of depends on how you feel about being in the stadium live, but not seeing everything clearly, because I don't have the best eyes. I need glasses. So
nice glasses that you. Oh, is that why the glasses you're wearing just because of the glare of the TV?
I wear these because I'm insecure. So that's why I just feel they're like my security blanket when I'm on YouTube. Because I don't know if you watch the first episodes when we first started on YouTube, I'm so awkward. So like, there's times where I'm frozen and Jeff's like, you have to talk. And I was like, oh, okay. So, but no, like with the glasses on, man, I'm way more relaxed.
Okay. You have the glasses. I love wearing hats. So I have like hundreds of hats. I'll try to wear a different one every episode because I love hats, and I feel way more. So, and I'll do my hair. But anyways,
you brought that up the season. Mitch on Twitter, he mentioned something about how shady that kind of was, how the Geno news didn't come out.
Yes.
Like the the tickets were due, the season tickets were due, and then that deadline passed, and then the Geno news came out after that, before they had already signed Sam Darnold. So it was just kind of shady on the Seahawks to kind of like pull that timing was so weird. It was just like, okay, well, they waited. They didn't tell anybody about the Geno news until basically after they got their money from a lot of people. And you guys were just like, we don't want to deal with the headache. And so, and
the Geno news we're referring to is Geno Smith, our quarterback for the past, 3 years. He got traded to the Raiders, to Pete Carroll. Shocking. It was shocking. Like, for me, all the moves that they have done this year, they're just dropping bombs,
because
nonstop headline.
For sure, he's been our quarterback the last 3 years. I was okay with him. There's so many people that hated him, though. That's so funny about the Seattle fan base, about how everybody's kind of split, and I don't know. That's just so funny that it's not a united fan base, because half the people are like I'm seeing people that are full on crying, like converting over to Raiders fans now because of Pete Carroll's over there. And
change is tough. It's something, I think it needed to happen. I think that, I mean, I look at it like a lot of people look at it like we got younger with a quarterback. We got contract that was definitely
cheaper.
Maybe he's going to end up cheaper than what Geno has. Darnold has worked his way up, and his season was good last year. He had a couple games towards the end, which everyone's concerned about, which is legit. But man, he performed well.
Right, and they went 14-3, and then the playoff, and then the last game of the season and the playoffs were just kind of like really two bad games.
Yeah, but I mean, compared to all the quarterbacks that were out and available,
so too.
I think we got the best one. If Geno wasn't going to sign, then I think that was the best option. Fields would have been cool too. I wouldn't mind that little contract that they signed for Justin Fields.
Who I would have wanted above a Fields? No. Jameis. I think Jameis would have been fun to have. I don't think he would have been performed as good as maybe, I think Darnold's better. But I just feel like, man, entertainment factor, and just like, it would have been fun kind of watching him, because he's just a funny guy. So, but he's not terrible.
Yeah.
But he's also not the best. So I just feel like, and we could have really saved a lot of money.
That would have been cool. Yeah, I think the Darnold was a good signing because of our new offensive coordinator. I think they work well together. They've had history together. I think they're trying to build a culture that fits, what the Seahawks are trying to be about. I don't know. I think Darnold, got a lot of potential. Kind of like Hasselbeck when he came, these guys just come up and they get a shape and mold them.
No, you bring up a great point.
You seen him play at USC?
I did
before.
Yeah, he smacked us. He smacked the Huskies that day. He looked amazing. And that was the only game the Huskies. No, not the only game, because they lost in the playoff, but to Alabama. But in the regular season, that was the only game they had lost that year. And so I'm telling you, he has all the tools. He's I think he's a solid quarterback, but
a locker room guy.
He's a locker room guy, but to duplicate kind of what he did in Minnesota, because Minnesota is a kind of a unique situation too. I mean, I think Jefferson's the best receiver in the league.
Sure.
So that definitely helps you out as a quarterback when you have the best guy in the league, so, and I think Minnesota had a better offensive line here. So
Stadium.
I don't know. It's tough to. I would rather go with him than them drafting somebody and then having a project for a couple of years, so
sure,
he's kind of
which now we can look for a quarterback, a backup quarterback in the draft. But also, it's kind of weird. We had Sam Howell, and I would have liked to see him. He had a lot of experience as a quarterback too in Washington, and
he's still there.
Yards, but
it's funny. You never know. Brock Purdy was the last pick. Tom Brady was 6th rounder. Russell Wilson was a 3rd rounder. You just don't know when these guys, who you draft. So pick up a couple quarterbacks in the 6th, 7th round, and I'm not saying they're going to turn into Tom Brady or Brock Purdy, but yeah, why not? And
true. Our GM Schneider is back to his, like, he loves stacking picks, and he loves looking at the draft, and he's been pretty good about like drafting players, stacking his picks, but at least they're forming the team to how McDonald wants how to have his team. There's no one really left anymore that is like an old Pete Carroll, like,
yeah, these are like a lot of McDonald's guys.
This is McDonald's guys, and he's doing a defensive, like, man, this new signing that just dropped
yesterday.
Just today.
Man, we didn't even get to DK yet, but yeah, no, we get let's go in order.
Oh yeah,
because we'll talk about Lawrence in a little bit. But so it's funny. So then, we get rid of Geno. We signed Darnold, a couple days after that. But then right after we trade Geno, dang, we trade DK, and that was a huge. So it's like, what a busy weekend, which is why we're doing this. It was like, dude, we got to talk about this just to get this out of our Seahawks, system, because like it's going to be hard for us.
Yeah, even though we're going into baseball season, but
these are blockbuster like trades for us. I mean, these are like beloved guys that have been with the team for, Geno for 3 years, and then DK for 6, and he's. He could easily be the best player on the team, so.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wish we could have signed him and kept him, but gosh, for $30 million a year for a wide receiver, I don't know. That's it would hamstring us. I mean, I don't think he would have done a friendly. He's restructured his deal with Seahawks like 3 times already. So, like, I don't know, his attitude, and he's a fierce player, and hey man, they got a great player, but I'm okay with him leaving if we can get some other wide receivers. I'm probably not going to be to his level, but that could fit well with the team. That's fine.
We got
$30 million for a wide receiver. I don't know.
So I mean, he was a second round pick, but like I said, I think he might have been potentially the best player on the team, and so to only get a second
for
pick,
sure.
Second round pick from was like, but I think people are less willing to deal with Schneider after that Russell Wilson trade, and so like people are kind of like undercutting what he's willing to do. I don't know.
Well, not only that, but the new team would have to take on the new contract, and like they're gonna offer him a pick too. So it's like they're not gonna offer a first round contract and then have to sign him to $30 million a year. So we kind of got a good, second round is decent, for someone who wasn't going to play anyways, was going to sit out and probably hold out.
I do debate whether he would sit out, because I forgot. I think I don't know what he was due. He was due at least 10, 15 million, something like that. So like to sit out the whole year, I don't know if he would have done that. That would have been an interesting like chicken face off to see like, hey, are you gonna really sit out this whole year and waste $10 million? Because that's where I would. Because I mean, me being stubborn, I would have definitely just not treated him and been like, no, we have you for one more year. And so you're going to play this year. And if you don't want to play this year, then that's up to you.
That was like Jamar Chase. He was going to hold out, but he ended up gutting it out for the whole season for Cincinnati.
And they ended up paying him,
But he ended up, I think they ended up paying him more, but did they sign the contract? He had one more year, just like DK.
So left on his contract. I don't know. So that's why I feel like, because I just feel like we would have, but I agree with like not extending him and giving him the 30 million plus that he wanted. That makes sense. Like I wouldn't want to do that either. I was like, man, we still kind of have a contract for one more year, and so, and it's like 18 million or something. I forgot what the number is, but I mean, I would have tried to force that.
Yeah.
It would have caused a lot of drama and, all that stuff. But it's like, man, just play this one last year and then, but.
Yeah. I'm sure they thought about all that and they made the decision. And I mean,
they wouldn't have gotten a second round pick back. So maybe they were thinking that they were like, look, we can at least get something for him. And we don't want to risk him not playing. Cause I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, who's willing to do their part in the deal with like of a holdout? Like obviously this team's not giving you money, and then like, okay, then you not want to play. No, I think I think that just situation is just I think both of them, I think both the Geno and the DK is like, I get it. I understand kind of what I'm not like thrilled with either of them, but I'm also not like pissed off either. It's like
True.
Their hands are kind of tied in a certain way, so I'm willing to give the front office a little bit of slack with that because there's not much you can do.
Yeah. I mean, DK, he had all the potential and, for as long as he's been he had some breakout seasons, but I mean, for the amount of money he was asking for and the production he had with our team, I mean, it could be like a coaching thing, but, JSN had just as good a numbers, maybe because of DK, who knows what's going to happen this year, but they already have a number one star potential in the rising right now. They're going to draft some players. They got this new player, MVS, who's not new, but, he's a veteran. He's been around for a while. As long as the scheme is right and we got the right quarterback, I'm okay. I'm okay with it. I'm glad they saved money. If they can shore up the O-line, that's what they need to do is get the offensive line.
I'm also thinking, so you brought
at the end of the day.
So they signed a new receiver because we lost DK, and we didn't even talk about this. We lost Lockett too. It's like
Lockett.
We couldn't just re-sign Lockett for like much less, like give him like a couple million or something like that.
I heard today that they were thinking they could still offer him a contract. He hasn't been signed with anyone yet. Having him on a veteran, but it's kind of like, damn, you let him go and you want to sign him to he was due 17 million. Yeah, he was due a lot of money this year, and so I doubt there's very many teams that will.
They're not going to pay. Yeah, I don't think anyone's
what
pay him
he
that
is
much,
looking
but,
for.
I mean, look, like now all these teams are probably going to pay less. Why don't we be one of those teams that pays that? I don't know, like what
I heard.
It's he's obviously going to try to get as much as he can, and so it's good for these players, and
right. At the end of the day, though, it's a business. All these players are trying to get their bag they have agents they're going through and like they're shopping around and, the Seahawks offered Geno, from what I heard, a number. He didn't like it. And so he didn't even ask for a counter. He just said, I'm gone. Like, it's not like we didn't want Geno. We wanted Geno back, but he didn't want to come back for the money that, he thinks he's worth.
Yeah.
So we had to pivot.
No, it's
do some other things, which I'm okay with.
Yeah, it is tough.
Yeah. We don't sit in the GM shoes. We're just, like as Hawk fans, I like the direction that the Seahawks are going in. I love the focus on the defense that they're doing.
Defense now.
They're going to be, they're going to be elite in their defense with McDonald as a defensive mind coach, which I'm okay with. Just like the old Legion of Boom days.
Because we just picked up a couple days ago to Marcus Lawrence. And so, but he's a little old. He's 30. He's going to be 33, I think, when the season starts. And, he's got 18 million, I believe, guaranteed. And it's on a 3-year deal. So, I mean,
3-year deal.
If he can stay healthy, he's a beast. He's.
Yeah. From what I hear from Dallas, he was their second best player on their team. He doesn't get the sacks like, a lot of the, people in his position, but he stops runs. He's a difference maker. He's like, he's one of the guys that he has that grit that McDonald likes, that he likes find these players that are like tough. They may be a little bit older in their, but he can get the most out of them.
He only played 5 games last year. So that's the scary thing.
Yeah, so he's fresh.
I love that's the different. Well, you're being positive. You're like, he's fresh off of he didn't play that many games. I'm like, well, there's the potential he can only play 5 games this year. So if he stays healthy, man, he could be amazing. Well, so I don't doubt that yet either. So
and it only helped our defensive line. I mean, having him opposite of Big Cat.
Leonard Williams and then Jan Reed and him, though, they're all 3 of those guys are over 30, though. So that's the only thing that I have concerns about. I mean, we still have Chenna is on the roster. Yeah, so we have a lot of who's had some trouble staying healthy, which is funny. It's like the guys that are in their 20s are the ones that kind of like have trouble staying on the field. Like even Boye Mafe he has some trouble staying healthy sometimes. He'll miss a game here or there. And then what's the other one? Hall?
Yeah.
Is that his name? No, the other
The center?
Derek Hall,
Or
right?
not Hall,
Yeah, like even he's missed
Derek
like
Hall.
a
Yeah,
couple
yeah,
games here and there. So it's kind of like, oh man, we have a great roster. Like we have great D line. I like all those guys that we just mentioned, but it's just like, man, can all those
Dude,
guys stay healthy?
Devin,
You know,
they signed Ernest Jones, who, man, a beast that we got in the free agent and signed him to a long term. Devin's gonna be good. You know, we got
Reek Willen, yeah,
Reek, what they call him now?
Witherspoon.
Yeah, I think McDonald can get he can get the most out of these guys. And the second half of the season, the Seahawks were number one in defense. They were doing really well on defense last year. So I like the direction that they're going. And even though we needed offensive line, they signed a defensive guy. So he's just stacking the defense. Crazy to me, right?
Like I kind of mentioned it to you before, but man, I am kind of weary of just John Schneider making some of these decisions just because he really has a lot of misses in the last 10 years, like from Jamal Adams to, there's so many that he just there's a lot of draft picks he missed on, like Pete Eskridge was a first pick that we had one year. LJ Collier, Rashad Penny. All those guys were the first picks of the draft for that year. Right. So when people say, hey, we got draft picks, it's like, yeah, but sometimes he doesn't really pick, the right guys, and so I don't know. I think he needs to be, I think more people, I'm harsh on him, but I think more Seahawk fans need to be more, not as harsh as I am, but I think he needs to be, I think more fans should be critical of kind of what he does, just because he's kind of chilled the last 10 years, kind of collecting these checks behind Pete Carroll. It's like, and like Pete Carroll gets all the blame, and then he kind of just gets to collect these checks as the general manager in the NFL. So it's like, man, it's gotta be, you can't have it both ways. He can't just take credit for, finding DK Metcalf in the second round or, Tyler Lockett in the third round. You also got to take credit for Jamal Adams and like losing couple of first round picks and stuff like that. So
true. Yeah.
I just wanted to,
getting Russ and Sherman and Baldwin. He's I will say both
from
ways,
2010 to 2012, he was amazing. He was like getting all those guys that you just mentioned, Russ, Sherm, Bobby, like all those guys, amazing. And then he kind of like rode those guys, because those guys were still on the team. All he had to do was kind of re-sign them, right? He kind of rode those guys for a while. My thing is, one example I would say is, man, we had this killer trade where we traded away Russ, right, to the Denver Broncos, like 3 years ago. And then, and man, if you look at it now, like the Broncos are just as good as the Seahawks and they have way less picks, right? They had two less first rounders, two less second rounders. So it's kind of like, man, that's where I kind of like say, hey,
but the value we got for us, there's no way the Broncos would have done that trade now. So we got the most out of the trade.
You could say that, but also not really, because imagine if the Broncos had those picks that we gave them, or that they gave us. Like, they would be even better. Like, so I'm saying, like, with less picks,
maybe, we don't know. We don't know who they would have picked. We just happened to get, the picks that we got didn't work out, which happens when you draft people. Shoot, we could have drafted Carter, Jalen Carter. We could have drafted Bijan. Like, these were all guys ahead of who we picked up.
I'm just saying, like, if you just look at last year's records, man, we're both 10-7, and it's like, man, we probably should have been better than their record for the amount of guys that we got. So that's just a mini example. People will also still say, hey, Pete Carroll was a big part in a lot of those draft picks too. So it's like, okay, Blake. My thing is, like, man, he just gets, John Schneider always gets this blanket like pass. He gets his blanket free pass by a.
You don't like Schneider,
trust me, I loved what he did in the beginning, and that Russ trade was amazing. But like, just looking at everything else, DK was an amazing pick. Almost, if you look through all the drafts and all the other moves that we've done, hey, he's missed badly on a lot of them, but he's been able to kind of dodge the media, and like the media doesn't really go after him. Nobody really goes after him, and so I'm just kind of like going after him right now. So
So what are you expecting? What are you expecting this year then from the draft? What do you think John should be doing with the picks that they got? Because they got 5 or 6 picks in the top 100
I
this
wouldn't be
year.
mad
What kind
with
of
5 O
focus?
linemen. Like literally, like let's at least fix that on the offense.
Okay.
You know, it's just yeah, that's how I look at it. It's man, we have had terrible O line for so many years. Yeah, it's just we just somehow miss every time we try to draft guys. Like like most of our guys will trade, you know, like so yeah, it's just sad to see that we've gone 10 plus years without an O line, and then like, you know, we expect Russ and Geno to kind of save us these last 10 plus years to just run around and make plays, and then a lot of times they do. Imagine if we just had a little bit of consistency. I think we would have been better.
I know. I think Schneider hears all that. I think he knows what we need on offense. I mean, whether or not they're going to spend that much money. He never spent money on an O-line before.
I think that's kind of why we're in the situation we're in. But it's but it's not even that he doesn't spend money on them. He can't, like, we can't really develop them either. Like even guys that we draft, like throughout the years, if you just go back and look at all the O linemen we draft, like none of them have really panned out, or they'll go somewhere else and then be developed there.
Cross was
and then he didn't even have the best year last year either. 10 plus years. We've like his move is to grab guys from like old Pro Bowl guys, like you know, and then we'll kind of have those guys in their later years, and you know, they're a little bit cheaper, but they're not as good as they once was. So that's why it's like I think other.
So what's your prediction for this year in 2025? How many wins do you think the Seahawks will get?
I mean, I think they'll probably be under. I think they'll be like an 8-win team. Yeah, I think they'll be like an 8-win team. I think
8-win team.
I mean, I'm not that high on them.
Last year, I had bet it was 8.5 games that they would. I bet over, so I won. I bet like $100 to win like 300, and they covered that. And I was a little concerned because they were winning like 3 or 4 games in a row, and then they lost like 6 games in a row. I was like, oh man, dang, this is not good. But yeah, I'm a little like, man, we could have been 13-5 last year, you know, with a couple things going wrong with the New York game. We weren't that far off. We're just like missing our quarterback and our wide receiver, but we've maintained most of our
defense
still.
Is back. You're like you said, it's just like, man, can all those guys stay healthy? If we do, man, I do like it. I'm excited for the defense. Offense, man, who knows? But like, I think the one thing that I am excited about is that, I mean, it sounds like Kubiak, the new offensive coordinator, really wants to be run heavy, right? Kind of fall in line with what McDonald wants to do and be a running type team.
Tight end.
I'm cool with
tight
that.
end
Absolutely.
heavy.
Hey, if that's what that relieves pressure on Darnold, like, hey, just make the throw, and he can make every throw. So like it's just, can he make the throw at the right time to the right person? It's just, you know, making like, you know, doing all the like things that a really good quarterback can do, which we've seen Geno do, you know, so that's why,
and if we don't have an offensive line and it doesn't address it, and we get the pressure for Darnold, he's going to be sacked.
That's what worries
a lot this year. And then K9, it's man, he's injury prone already as it is. So if we don't work on our offensive line, K9, because he'll be hurt a lot
again. That's what I mean, like, because man, I love K9 too, but man, he misses a lot of games. So it's like, man, it's hard to find. I don't know. That's why a lot of these picks that Schneider has holes in them. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, so that's why I'm, you know, not to just sit here and just talk smack about Schneider the whole time, but I could. But it's just like, I just feel like more people he needs to feel the fire. And I feel like he doesn't. And I feel like he's just kind of making moves, and it's like, well, it's not like they're going to fire him because, you know, he got us a Super Bowl 11 years ago, 12 years ago. So it's like, guys, can we have a little bit better of a standard? Because I think we missed a lot of other Super Bowls potentially on the way if we had somebody else in there drafting other guys to be around Russ outside of just Russ running around, and, you know, and because I feel like he used Russ's good years and Bobby too, right? Like, so like for 10 years, he didn't have to find a quarterback and didn't have to find a middle linebacker. So then he couldn't really build around that during that time.
Yeah.
That's where because people are like, yeah, we had a winning team for 10 years. Like, yeah, I'm telling you, he had a great 2010 to 2012 draft. But anyways, I'm starting to repeat myself and ramble, but that's kind of where my issues are with John. So you asked me about, and I said I would want to go all old line. You draft. What would you like to see?
Yeah, I would like to see a quarterback
wow, nice.
in the second and third round. A wide receiver. I think one that we can build up for wide receiver. Offensive line for sure, definitely. You know, you can't have too many of those. They're hard to get.
No, I agree.
Good to find, but he's in the same coach pool as all the other GMs. They haven't hit as well, and it's just as hard too. I mean, you look at it last season, we were a game or two away from. We should have made the same playoffs, record as the
Broncos. And Broncos were in the playoffs, and we're the only 10-win team to not make the playoffs. Yeah. So I get it. We were right there. We were close.
Mm-hmm. I think the divisions for the taking. I think that the only one, like you see what the 49ers have done. They've lost so many of their star players.
They had like an all-star roster. So to see it not be the same, it's like, oh yeah, I'm cool with that.
Arizona don't look that good this year. I mean,
the Rams
look good. They got Stafford back and Puka and every
even
year.
The line pick Jared Verse, he's like a beast. And like, not to compare him with our first rounder, Byron, but it's just like, man, Verse had just like a kind of a crazy year for a rookie, and it's just like, our guy was okay, he was solid, but
we'll see how Murphy does. I think it's still young. It is, second full year.
I would love to see him go off doing some this year.
Production this year. But other than that, they got a lot of free agency money right now,
and then new offensive system. So that's a lot of.
I like the signing for Kubiak for two reasons, because he's been in the league for a while. Grubb was brand new to the league. It was just kind of like, okay, let's see if he can maintain the college to the NFL, and obviously it didn't work out.
So
but
Kubiak
like, has,
it's like it's.
Yeah, true.
I really wish we would have went to the playoffs just to see what would have happened. We probably would have lost, but yeah.
I saw a lot of the games. I just didn't like a lot of the play calling that Grubb had set for the Seahawks.
He was super pass heavy.
I think we could have predictable. Like, the defenses knew what the kind of schemes Grubb were going to be throwing all the time, so they sacked Geno a lot. I think Kubiak has a different scheme, and I think with him wanting to focus on using tight ends and focus on run, I'm okay with that. He had a good team, and not a good team, but he had good players in New Orleans. They got hurt, unfortunately. Like, Olave got hurt, but they ran if he runs the same kind of system when Carr was there, when their team was full strength, their team offense was really good. They had it going flow until, of course, injuries. But I'm optimistic. I think 10 wins again for next year is not out of the realm of possibility. If they, just depending on who they sign here moving forward. We'll see.
How many losses?
I would love to have Cup.
What kind of record would it take for you to say we should probably move on from Schneider? Like, what? No, I'm just curious.
How often do GMs get fired?
I mean, like almost every team goes through a GM like every 3-4 years if they're not winning. Like outside of like Kansas City, Philadelphia, like the guys that have been winning, they don't really change their GM. But man,
I think you said earlier, because the Seahawks have made the playoffs so many consecutive years, and they're just kind of like toeing the line of making the playoffs. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. I feel like if they had fallen to 8, 9,
or
whatever,
17
games,
7 and 10, you're just like, for sure, just because we won 10 games last year, and our whole defense is coming back. We should be better this year,
But I'll look at the schedule. I haven't looked at it yet, but maybe next time we'll talk. I'll look at the schedule and we'll go over, do you think they can win this game, this game, this game? We'll predict the score, and I'll place a bet and see how they do for the next podcast. We'll talk about what the schedule for 2025 looks like for the Seahawks and predict their outcomes. But I'm always optimistic. Let's see how the draft. We next time we talk, was it drafting like a couple weeks?
Or next week?
It's coming soon.
I think it's coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's probably the next time we'll
coming
do
up.
one of these
Yeah.
like roundups where we just kind of talk about like all the different moves and stuff. And so, um,
Yeah, I mean, we could talk all day over the Seahawks, and we haven't even gotten to the Mariners. The Mariners opening season starts in like
perfect.
14 days.
Give me, because I
Less
have
than
not, I don't know,
yeah.
I haven't caught, I haven't been up to date with the Mariners. Give me a kind of update on like what we could expect from the Mariners this year.
Okay. So the Mariners this year, after disappointing last year in 2024, they missed the playoffs by one game. They decided to do nothing with the roster, signed their biggest free agent signing was a person that they previously had on the team last year, Polanco. They re-signed him to another contract. They got Solano, one of these other utility infielders, as their only two free agent signings. They're banking on production from people who did really bad last year, like J.P. Crawford, Mitch Garver, Mitch Haniger, Victor Robles, Rosarena. If these guys can hit anything like their average, we should be doing okay. But that's a lot to ask for. Mitch Garver hit like 150 points lower than he normally hits. And this guy wasn't all, I mean, he's a beast of a hitter. He has a good spring training so far. Robles, when he came to the Mariners, he was on fire and we got a lot out of him. So if he can continue what he did towards the end of the season, if Julio can just hit just anything, I mean, even though he had a bad season in our standards, he still was the highest average hitter on our team and had a lot of, but he's talented. He should be doing way better. And then Rosarena, who we signed, we only had him for a little bit more than half the season. If he can do anything like he did in Tampa Bay, he's an all-star. And he's a difference maker in the lineup. And Crawford, he's just our veteran guy. And, he just needs to be more because he was injured last year as well. Other than that, we're relying on our pitching is solid still. I think it's the top five for sure. Our top five is better than anyone's top five in all of baseball. And our relief pitchers, we had two that were injured last year, Santos and Brash. They should be back this year. Having those two set up, Munoz should be a knockout 1-2 punch because we didn't have those two guys and we relied on a lot of them like Saucedo and Spear, and they kind of didn't do well last year. And so I feel like if they can maintain the relief pitchers and there are not too many hurt for the starting pitchers, we got depth there and we should be able to go pretty far. I predict 90, 91 games and make the playoffs. That's my hope. It's going to kick me in the nuts at the end of the year. I know.
I love the playoff baseball when we're in it. We're just rarely in it. We've been in it one time in the last 24 years. We've only been in the playoffs once in the last 24 years. So it's like not very fun.
And it's so frustrating as a lifelong Mariner fan. I've been following them and love watching them since, I was a little kid, and they've disappointed me every year. Except for the playoff
really been
year
tough too in the last 5 years because we missed the playoffs like by one game, like 2 or 3 times in the last 5-6 years. So that's like another like dagger in the heart. How like we're so close, but
gosh, and to miss the playoffs, having like Felix and Ichiro and like on our team, like Griffey, like man,
just not
all the legends.
Be able to
so
see
many
them
legends.
play playoff baseball. It's travesty. For sure.
When Heinz was here, we love going to Mariner games. It's just like the summertime,
I mean, tickets,
I get it. The Mariners
tickets for like $20,
cheap tickets,
and
their promos are good. The giveaways, the jerseys, the bobbleheads, they're so good at marketing. But the one thing is that our management, like as much money as we bring, they don't spend, or they just kind of lead themselves to a budget. I feel like our demographics and where we should be a top 5 to 10 in the market, and we're like held to like budget.
They just don't. I feel like they just don't have long-term thinking. Like if they had long-term thinking, and if they went after what's his name, who was a free agent, for the Dodgers, the Japanese, Yeah.
Oh,
I think like,
Ohtani,
invest the money, like it would have been super expensive, but man, the amount of
yeah,
money and like
sure,
marketing
yeah, I
and
know,
like the
yeah,
what it could have done, not only
right,
just for the team, but for the whole city, but man, the team, you could have increased the value of the team
hmm
by billions of dollars. Like that's what you got
I
to think
know,
long-term thinking like that. Cause you could have, like, this is already the home of Ichiro. Like Otani would have been a perfect fit. And then,
yeah, I
yeah, that
know,
Japanese
yeah, the
connection, like
Japanese, yeah,
this,
yeah,
but that's why for them not to aggressively go after Otani, and then Otani gave the Dodgers such a great contract. I don't know. That's why it's like, dude,
hmm
he could have probably done something
hmm
the same way with the Mariners, gave the Mariners a good contract where you could still sign other people. And so, but yeah.
yeah. There's something to be said about hitters wanting to play here at T-Mobile Stadium, and the stigma that we have as far as like keeping players happy here or hitting well. That might be like they usually do better when
Yeah,
they
it's like, what do we
leave
have to do? Change the
Seattle.
ballpark. I mean, people change. I mean, like these,
Park,
every ballpark is different and you could change it, right? I'm sure that's within the rules. Just change it between seasons or
yeah,
something, it's,
but yeah, but then our pitching
I
wouldn't be as
mean,
dominating, right? Our pitching is like
yeah,
what's
I don't
getting
know.
us.
That's tough.
I mean,
I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah, it's tough.
It's just, it sucks just not having a
Yeah,
good baseball team that, goes to the playoffs once every
yeah,
24 years. It's just like,
yeah, and it sucks that we have arguably the best pitching rotation we've ever had
we're
in
kind of wasting
Seattle,
them. Yeah.
and if they goes to waste, yeah, then that I'd be so mad. Like years from now, I'd be like, man, can you imagine we had Kirby and Gilbert and Wu and Miller, like in Castillo, and we didn't make the playoffs? Are you telling me that no other team in baseball, if they had these five players, would not make the play? I mean,
For sure.
it's pretty sickening. As a Mariner fan, it's frustrating. Yes, there's a lot of things that need to happen, but our division's tough too. Houston is really good. Texas, they won the World Series a couple years ago. It's a tough division. It's not a laydown division. But the Mariners are right there, and just one or two more bats could kick
Next
our
level.
team to
Yeah. Next level.
over 90, 100 wins. Yeah, yeah. So, as being a Mariner fan, you always have expectations, and you always think they're going to do it, and then the last week they just fail on you. You're just so mad. Like I've never been so mad for a season. So much invested. I spend more money or going to Mariner games and hanging out than I do like Seahawks. Obviously
Yeah,
because
81 games
there's
at home. Yeah.
there's 80 games. There's 81 games.
Yeah.
Tickets are only like you can get them for free or like 10 to $12, but you're spending 20, $30 inside for drinks
hats,
and all that. Buying, I buy more gear for than anything, and jerseys, stuff like that. Yeah, so I'm more invested and you learn as a Mariner fan to not keep your expectations too
Ain't
high.
that the truth?
You always plan for the worst, and so much of the same this year. I'm excited for how they go. I like the team this year. I think health, of course, the offensive, the pitching, and the hitting is going to be the key for us if they can hit just average for the Mariners.
Fingers crossed for the Mariners and the Seahawks, because, we're fans of them. We want to see them, win championships. So, however way we get there, I'll be happy with it, so, I just feel like if we don't improve, then there should be changes, because we've kind of had the same thing, at least with actually for both of these teams, we've kind of had the same front office for a long time.
Yeah.
So it's like, come on, we need something. We need a shake up every now and then, this just happens. So yeah, that's all I'm asking.
Favorite top two Mariners all time?
Griffey for sure. And Griffey and I want to say Omar Vizquel. Let's go. He was dope.
Man, yes.
Yeah,
little Omar Vizquel. Yeah. Griffey for sure, and Ichiro for sure. Those are my top two. But yeah,
a lot of people like Omar.
He was a clubhouse guy.
Fun. He's fun to
watch.
Outstanding. He was dope. He was like, he barehanded that Chris Bosio perfect game.
We have he
barehanded that last out. Like, dude, he was dope at short. So
yeah, He was a
for sure.
defensive gem for sure. Yeah.
You were not
I
expecting
wonder how many
that.
years I forgot how many years, but he played
that.
a lot for Cleveland. Yeah, I think he just threw that out. Yeah, he's but no, he's definitely one of my favorite Mariners growing up.
An easy sell if I told. That's how that's that real Mariners fans, right? Like, yeah, we go back because he was a dope shortstop. So
yeah, I go back.
Not the biggest bat for sure. He was not. He didn't scare anybody at the plate.
Yeah.
Man, he was dope on D. So.
Yeah. Well, shoot, yeah.
Yeah, easy. That's why it's like shows you just how passionate we are about, our Seattle sports. So
that's right. Yeah, we'll continue these segments. Hopefully you guys enjoyed listening to the podcast, and if you guys have anything you would like us to talk about on the podcast, or any memories that you have, or what your prediction are, hit us up on YouTube. We're gonna be posting these on YouTube. Little videos, and feel free to comment and subscribe to hit that sub button for us, and thank you guys for listening, and hopefully we had some topics that you guys enjoyed listening to. So we'll talk to you guys next time. Have a great weekend, everyone.